Welcome to the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks. We're Jim and Joe, lifelong friends, lifelong fans, bringing you fan-driven sports talk, the way real fans do. No overpaid experts, no scripted analysis, just honest takes on the games, players, and the big stories shaping sports right now.
Want you, and we thank you for being a part of it with us. Please drop your comments, questions, and takes. We'll read them all and bring them into future shows like today. We will be doing that. So please hit like, subscribe, and join the conversation every week on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok. And good morning, Joseph the Third. What's happening?
Good morning. Happy, what's today? Wednesday. Hump Day.
Yeah. Happy Hump Day, my friend.
Yes, we're going to make it, I think. It's the weather here has turned a little bit colder. Played some golf yesterday, which was great. 55 degrees and breezy. So anytime you have one of those days in January, got to take advantage. But no golf for a while. It's going to be in the season. So anyways, that was good while it lasted.
You got to take advantage of it, man. Down here, we're going to be in the low 30s, just a little north of Tampa. So that's coming tomorrow and Saturday morning. No golf for me either.
Man, sorry to hear it, but yeah, it's terrible. I have my limits. I mean, it's not supposed to be a challenge like I'm on Survivor to go out and play, some golf. But yeah, no. If it's in the 50 low 50s or below that and windy, forget about it. But speaking of golf, now we have a lot to talk about in this show, so we're going to run through it. Okay. Hey, listen, we talk about everything, right? Anything in the world of sports. Football is front and center. We know that, but there are things always going on elsewhere. But let's hit on some of those. First, I was watching a little bit of the Australian Open. That's the tennis tournament that's going on, if people aren't aware of that. And I'll tell you, it was very interesting. One of the reasons I like the Australian Open, by the way, is because it happens, obviously, it's summer in the Southern Hemisphere right now. It's winter here. I'm freezing to death half the time. So I love watching the Australian Open, just looking at people sweating and sitting in the stands, fanning themselves because it's 98 degrees. It gives me hope.
It's coming. Spring's
Yes,
only a couple of months away, my friend.
100%. Yeah, we'll start seeing Masters commercials, commercials for the Daytona 500. My wife will start reminding me it's Valentine's Day, tomorrow, even though it's, a month away. But I'm watching the Australian Open. Interesting little thing happened. It was Sebastian Offner against American Nishesh Basavareddy. And they played just three, best of three early in the rounds in the Australian Open. Funny thing is, they went to a third set tiebreaker, and Offner just dominated tiebreaker. It was like 6-1. So he won his 7th point. Everyone knows in tennis, it's a 7-point tiebreaker. So he throws his racket, kind of celebrates, starts walking to the net, and the chair umpire pulled a Lee Corso. Not so fast, my friend. He says, you may have forgotten, but in the majors, it's a 10-point tiebreaker. So Offner, embarrassingly, has to go pick up his racket that he threw in celebration, goes back, and as predictable as it could possibly be, he can't get the mojo back. And Bassavareddy comes back and wins like 10 out of the next 11 points and beats him in the tiebreaker 13-11. Wow. And then does a choke sign to him. So, wow. Lesson learned on that one. You can't make it up. So, what's the moral of the story, kids? Don't celebrate until you're sure you won.
Oh my gosh. He did the choke sign
Well,
just to
hey,
rub it in. Did the chair umpire throw a flag like the NFL's been doing this year?
probably should have. I'm not sure, depending on what side of the fence or net you're on. Is that kind of cool because the guy really did choke? Are you really kicking him when he's down? I don't know. Hey,
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see how people handle that. Just in closing, I'm not sure either one of these guys is going to go very far, but it was a very interesting lesson to watch and learn. That's for sure.
I'll tell you what, now, before we get to football, you mentioned just before we got on something about golf.
Yes. Well, I did because I was playing golf yesterday.
Yeah.
People ask, "Are you a golfer?" And I kind of pause and say, "Well, I play golf." You don't want to be misidentified. So, big story in golf, and that is, if you haven't heard, Bruce Koepka is now asking and being allowed to return to the PGA Tour. Wow. Yeah. I think that's well, is that good for golf? I I guess so. If you're a purist and a PGA fan, as far as not liking live golf, then yeah, I think it's a good thing. Some people probably will hold a grudge though and don't want Bruce Koepka back to the PGA Tour. What do you think?
I like it. I like the guy. You know what? If he wants to come back, let him come back. Just,
Yes.
I'm not going to say maybe he feels he made a mistake or whatever, but he's a fellow FSU alum. I'm all for him. There you go. Now you know why I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I it's good. Well, it is good. He is a Florida FSU alum. I will say this: what are your thoughts or brief thoughts on well, let me put it this way: we probably both agree there's probably some PGA Tour players who are pretty pissed off that he's allowed to come back when they didn't go to live. Many of them, a handful of them especially, could have easily made a fortune going to live, but they stuck it out with the PGA Tour. So I'm sure there's going to be some, maybe even not so behind the scenes, but vocal protesters from the PGA Tour players saying this is bullcrap. We stuck around. I think the PGA Tour had to kind of thread the needle here a little bit on okay, we'll let him come back, but we're not going to let him come back easily. We're going to make him pay a price for that to satisfy the PGA Tour members who say, "Hey, this is not fair." These are just some of the conditions. He had to leave live, obviously. He had to apply for reinstatement, which the PGA granted, and made up a special program called the Returning Member Program. This means you had to have won a major or the Players' Championship between 2022 and 2025. That's a specific program they invented to allow Bruce Koepka back. What does that also mean? There's three other players that would qualify, and no more than that. You're looking at Bryson DeChambeau, you're looking at Smith, and you're looking at a very few other players who would be allowed to come back. So that was kind of smart. But here's the real pain: $5 million donation he has to make to a charity at the PGA Tour's request. He cannot get FedEx Cup bonus money. He cannot receive PGA Tour equity grants. He gets no sponsors exemptions into signature events, meaning he must qualify. And then lastly, this represents a potential loss of 85 million in overall earnings compared to staying in live. So he is not doing it for the money. I can tell you that.
Wow. He's
I know.
wishing all he got was KP duty or something.
Yeah, yeah. But I'll leave it at this. Some people are saying, it doesn't get the attention and Bruce Koepka just wants more attention. It's probably true a little bit. But I will tell you this, and people may not know, but he and his wife experienced a miscarriage in 2025. He does have a son. He has said in the past that has changed him, that event. And as you probably know, Live plays all over the world. Their travel schedule is brutal. So I think he wants to stay closer to home, closer to the family and all that, and of course the PGA Tour. So, um, I'm going to side with doing the right thing, and I think that's what is motivating Bruce Koepka the most. So I think you're right. Good for golf.
And in closing, I'll bet you he'll get all kinds of endorsements. So good
Yeah,
luck, Brooks.
yeah, I agree. And we'll see. Does anyone else in that program? There's only a few other golfers that qualify. Will anybody else join him? We'll see.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
It will be.
I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about today, and that's just also before we get to football. There's baseball news.
Love it.
We're a month away from the pitchers and catchers reporting.
Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
But two big signings this week. Well, one a trade and one a signing. We've got Nolan Arenado is now going to the D-backs. What do you think about that?
The lucky D-backs. Where did the D-backs finish last year? I was trying to remember. Are they a player or two away? If so, then it's a good move.
They just missed the playoffs to my knowledge. Yep, they just missed
Yeah,
the playoffs. They got really hot late and then they just missed it.
yeah. Well, people are describing it as a pretty major shift for the NL West. So I think it just makes the Arizona Diamondbacks that much better. And if everyone else stays the same, the NL West is a powerhouse at this point.
Going to get even stronger every
Yeah,
team. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
exactly.
And then we had the free agent signing, which surprised me, but Alex Bregman is now a Chicago Cub. So the city of Chicago, especially the Northsiders, they've got a lot to cheer about with the Bears, and now they've got Alex Bregman, who's apparently a big-time clubhouse leader, and of course a heck of a ball player. So the Cubs
Yeah,
get stronger.
true. I was a little surprised. 5 year, 175 million. I mean, I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but that doesn't seem like the kind of contracts that are being thrown around. Uh, I don't know. Considering um, that the Kyle Tucker sweepstakes continue, the Mets have reportedly offered Kyle Tucker 50 million per year. So, 175, good for him.
Did
And
the
listen, yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, pitchers are getting paid different money than a position player, but, you know, Bregman's a big deal. So there you go.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I was just going to say, did the Bobby Bonilla Mets contract run out?
Yeah. Yeah.
Enables him to.
Hey, listen, apparently it has, I guess. So we'll see.
We'll have to look that up when we start baseball talk. See how many more years the Mets owe Bobby Bonilla. Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
it's kind of unbelievable. I will say, and finally in baseball too, it's interesting. I was reading that the Kansas City Royals, they're moving their outfield wall in by 10 feet. I guess their offensive, you know, production was so bad that they decided to move their feet in. The only reason I question that is, hey, I know you got 82 games at home, 162 games, played, 82 at home. Well, other teams are playing there too. So will that help them or maybe even hurt them depending on their pitching? I don't know. Interesting.
That's a great point. It's they're moving it in 10 feet. I'd like to know what the parameters are. We'll have to look into that too. Was it 330 down each? You know, uh, each foul line, or was it 335 or 340 down the foul lines and
Yeah,
420 to center or whatever? Just I'd love to look that up. But both teams have to play there. So, yeah, great
it's
point on
funny.
the pitching.
Well, it's like the Oakland A's, famously have had the most foul territory of any team. I mean, by many, many, many yards, feet. And based on I like the Oakland A's, but it didn't seem to help us. It seemed to hurt us more than it hurt opposing visiting teams, as far as pop-ups being
Yeah,
able to be caught more often. So, anyways, whatever. We'll see. Keep an eye on it.
yeah, yeah. I got a couple other questions just before we finally get to football. The other night, watching the Steelers get pummeled by the Texans, why does it always seem like Aaron Rodgers wants to be somewhere else other than the football field? Quite
Uh,
often. Looks like he's
yeah,
just over it.
yeah. His demeanor on the sidelines. He's older, right? But he always seems to walk off and you know who he's talking to varies, but he always does the same thing. He's always like saying something, complaining, and it doesn't look like he's blaming himself. I can tell you that. I like Aaron Rodgers, by the way.
Me too.
It is kind of a weird sideline thing. He always seems to. It's like the receiver didn't run the right route or whatever. I'm not sure, but hey, well, that is a good segue into football.
Yeah.
And we can certainly talk about, I think before we get to the games, let's talk about the coaching carousel with Mike Tomlin jumping in to the mix. Wow. Harbaugh was pretty unexpected. Tomlin, I think, is right up there. After a loss in the playoffs, you know, he made it to the playoffs. What do you think?
And what if they end up taking each other's jobs?
Well, that would be funny. I happened to see part of Steve Biscotti's, the Ravens owner, news conference, and someone asked him point blank, hey, now that Tomlin's available, would you consider him for the Ravens job? If you haven't seen it, go Google it. His laugh in response to that question is priceless. He laughs from the belly for a long time about it, then pauses and says, well, I don't know, maybe the kiss might have disqualified him. I had to Google that. Apparently, Tomlin blows a kiss after the field goal is missed during the Ravens game. Tomlin says, hey, that's something I've been doing for a long time. It's a tip of the cap to my favorite MMA fighter. Derek Lewis. Probably true. It wasn't, directed at Harbaugh or the Ravens. But Biscotti closes out the question by saying, well, let me put it this way. I'm not saying, it's impossible, but I think Pittsburgh's going to have to hire Harbaugh first. So
Ooh,
your question is funny. Yeah. Hey, what if they did switch? That would be crazy. But hey, what are you gonna do?
yeah,
Crazier things have happened.
they sure have, man. Crazier things.
Talk about the coaching carousel. I mean,
Whoa.
the elephant in the room. What's going
Well,
on?
you
Where are
know
all these
what?
coaches going?
Moving to the coaching carousel, it's how do you keep up?
I don't know. You can't. You can keep up with what teams need one. That's one thing you can do. There are so many coaches now that are, I would consider top tier coaches available, but you have a ton of candidates that are from the DC OC world as well. Some really good coordinators. I mean, the Baltimore Ravens, for example, you fire Harbaugh, 18 seasons. They have officially interviewed or confirmed over 10 candidates, including Vance Joseph, Denver Broncos OC. Clint Kubiak is a name that's coming up a lot now. Seattle's OC. Matt Nagy. How about Mike McDaniel? His name pops up as an OC candidate for these jobs as well. So it's crazy out there right now, man. Cliff Kingsbury, good names.
And head coaching jobs and Stefanski, all these guys. How do we keep up?
I
It's
don't know.
just
I think you keep up by just kind of sitting back and watching, for some of these really high powered, coaches. They're not going to negotiate in public. But for some other jobs, it's interesting. Cleveland, they're talking to Mike McDaniel, but really almost all their candidates are OCs and DCs. I think you're going to see a lot of teams really, I don't want to say take a chance, but just not go the household ex head coach route. I think they're going to look, I think the Chicago Bears, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think those success stories are forcing teams to look at, let's go with someone who's not a run of the mill head coach and bring their tired playbook into this franchise. I'm not saying that's the case in all of their cases,
oh,
but
that's a great point.
let's bring in someone up and coming OC that thinks a little bit outside of the box. So, that's why the Cleveland Browns are looking at Jim Schwartz. They're looking at Tommy, Rees, Nate Shieldhouse. They're looking at all these guys, names you never even really heard of. So I like the Las Vegas Raiders looking at the Packers DC, stuff, people like that.
And you got the Chargers defensive coordinator, Jesse Minter. And
He's
then
everywhere.
I had to stop what I was doing the other day when I read Los Angeles Rams defensive coordinator Chris Shula may be scheduled for an interview for the Miami Dolphins head coaching and or also could be considered for the defensive coordinator job if Anthony Weaver looks like he's going to be leaving. I think he's going to get a job, which I'm going to predict he's going to Baltimore. That's where he was with Harbaugh, and they had those great defenses. But when I saw Chris Shula, I was like, go for it. If we can't get Harbaugh, if he goes to the Giants or he decides to, who knows? Harbaugh might go to Cleveland. He's a Midwesterner. I don't
Agreed.
know. But how do
I
you
don't
keep
either.
up? We should do a bracket. Put the
Hey,
teams up there and do the picks, which head coach is going to go in there, and a winner takes all.
we should. We should. No, we should. Yeah. Not just head coach. We should do a bracket of the team that needs a head coach and
Great.
then put our best guess on who they end up hiring and see how we come out. That would be interesting.
There we go.
Yeah.
Coaching's
It would be hard. It would be tough because I think some of these, they're not going to be a household name. You're going to say, whoa, what? Like the Titans. I mean, I think they could end up with somebody just completely off the wall. Who knows, man?
and could a coach come out of college all of a sudden? Surprise,
Well, that's a really good point. The list of people I'm looking at, which are long, are not even including a college coach. A Kirby Smart coming out of the college ranks. I think Kirby Smart, though, between me and you, would have a really hard time in the pros because, my understanding is in the pros, if you get arrested or convicted of a crime, you have to sit on the bench. Kirby would have a hard time with that coming from Georgia. I'm kidding. I'm kidding, of course. Of course, Kirby punishes his players who lead the college football ranks. But no, I'm kidding. Anyways, we'll see. I'm interested. I'm really watching the Tennessee Titans. They have, I think, the fourth pick or the sixth pick this year. We know who they got last year. Their list is really long. Are they better off going with like a Brian Dable to bring in, a seasoned head coach, veteran, or a Steve Spagnuolo from the Chiefs, a defensive coordinator who's been around a long time, or just somebody super fresh and new,
Kubiak.
like a Kubiak or somebody, it's crazy. The names are really great. I'll be honest with you. This is my final thought on the whole thing, and we'll keep an eye on it. There are a couple names that kind of catch me off guard a little bit. I see Arthur Smith pop up a lot, the Steelers OC,
Yeah.
in a lot of these candidates. I mean, no offense to Arthur or the Steelers or anything, but in watching the Steelers offense, I mean, what I don't. I mean, doesn't seem like that's a really good choice right now. But no, maybe his head coaching skills are better than his offensive coordinator skills. I don't know.
And he had a cup of coffee in Atlanta as the head coach. But I don't know. If you break down that film of that game the other night, it just looked like the Steelers' offensive line was just, they're banged up and this and that. It's just, and they're a lot better when everybody's healthy, just like any other team. But maybe Arthur Smith's ready to get another chance.
I don't disagree with that. You never know, man. You never know. These coaches, can't miss coaches. Mike McCarthy can come in there and get you 9 wins a year, but they can't get you higher than that for 4, 5, 6 years. Ben Johnson, walks in and it's like, wow, bam, boom, So it's pretty interesting. Speaking of Ben Johnson, man, how about that handshake? The handshake heard around the world.
Yeah, LaFleur and Johnson, are they going to schedule a WWE event? Is that what you're getting at?
You know what? I don't know, but they can't wait till next time they play, quite frankly. For those of you out there who may not be aware, after the game, Chicago Bears beating the Green Bay Packers, the traditional head coaching handshake at the center of the field did happen, but you'd have to slow it down in slow motion to see it because Ben Johnson literally ran by LaFleur. I'm not even sure if he actually shook his hand. He might have just, slapped it or ran by or something. I didn't realize, but apparently after the earlier game in the year, LaFleur was pretty cold on his handshake. So Ben Johnson was kind of, you know, paying him back, I guess. So, anyways, it's kind of just funny to watch two grown men act like, little kids, but don't we all? And I think it's kind of refreshing a little to just see people, not play the game all the time and just show what they're really thinking.
Right. I love it. I totally agree with you on that. And I think the ticket sales for both games next year with the Bears and the Packers, both home game ticket sales just shot up for people that are listening. They're like, oh, what day is that? We got to get tickets to that. And all they want to see is the post game handshake. And then it's going to start they're going to grab each other's hands. Somebody's going to try to flip each other like Pink Panther with Peter Sellers and Kato. Kato, not now.
Yeah. Ah, Kato, your freezer ploy was very good, but not now, my friend. Now there's motivation to win the game between the Packers and Green Bay even more because whoever wins can rush out to center, to midfield and put their hand out nice and as far out as possible and say, congratulations, and then wait for it. And whoever loses is going to have to figure out how to handle that situation.
Must see TV. I can't wait.
The game within the game. It's very interesting. Yeah. So that's interesting. We'll see. We will talk about this weekend's upcoming games, though, on Friday's episode. So for those of you who are looking forward to what we think and how we feel about the upcoming games, stay tuned. But there were some games played this weekend. Let's talk about those.
Yep. Now I jumping ahead talking before we got going on talking about the coaches. My bad. Thanks for catching me on that. The playoff picks last week, you won 4 out of 6. That puts you at a .667 percentage for the week. Good job. and
Thank
I
you.
made 3 out of 6, so I'm at 500. But
Thank you.
I put them in that order because I'm getting ready for baseball. Got to
Yep.
put in the winning percentages. But
I understand. Yeah, that
congratulations.
makes sense.
Last week you got 4 out of 6, Mr. Joe.
Well, that's good. I can't say I was confident in all of them, especially since what, 4 of the games came down to like fourth quarter, last minute kind of things. It's unbelievable, really.
What a weekend, man. And starting off, even with Saturday, we were making fun of the Panthers getting there at 8 and 9, and they should have won that football game. And I will always remember that pass that Stafford made in the corner of the end zone for the touchdown. That was a unbelievable game. And we both got that game right.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah. The that kudos to the Panthers. They gave the Rams a lot more game than not only I, but even Las Vegas thought. It's pretty amazing really how Carolina really towards the end of the year started turning it around. And they showed, they belonged. I apologize. I thought they were gonna get killed.
I thought so too. And kudos to an offensive coordinator the year before. He's been there 2 years now, but Dave Canales, the head coach of the Panthers, was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yep,
And I'm glad you brought up that point. There could very well be a trend of bringing up the up and coming younger coaches, and we might see quite a shift. And all these teams going for younger coaches, and the older coaches are just going to have to go play with the grandkids or get a tea time with you when the weather's right.
that's
You
right.
know, it's just, you know. So
Yeah,
Saturday we were both wrong in the night game, but my goodness, what a football game that Bears game! Congrats to the Bears. Sorry about that, Packers fans. Got a few family members that are Packers fans, but my goodness, Caleb Williams, the guy defies human physicality.
yeah. I've said it before. He's a big dude too, man. He's not like some little guy running around. He's making he's making a name for himself as a clutch QB. 18-point comeback against Green Bay. That's not easy. Green Bay's defense is not shabby. It's the largest playoff comeback since like 2017. So it was a big deal.
And a big deal for those Bears fans that have been seeing the imagery of Aaron Rodgers beating them and saying, "We own you."
Yeah,
You can hear a big exhale of "Not anymore, baby. We own you." And that might have something to do with that post game handshake.
love it.
Bears hate the Packers. The
Well,
Packers hate the Bears.
of course, it's Ohio State, Michigan. It's fill in the
Yep.
blank. Um, this particular, what it says about Caleb Williams probably equally says about Love. Where does this put Love now? Because he's starting to kind of become the Dak Prescott of quarterbacks, meaning great quarterback during the year, looks good, definitely can run the offense, but then just cannot seem to put it together to win these big games.
Yeah. And that's a great question. And it's almost like where Josh Allen is right now.
Yeah,
Is it going to take the Packers? They got to get a couple more of the right pieces, keep Parsons healthy. It would have been a different ball game if Micah Parsons been there, but we're over it. And then speaking of, I guess there's the next game. We've got Buffalo
well,
and
before
Jacksonville.
before we move on to that, let me make
Yeah,
a comment about the Josh Allen comparison. In my opinion, Josh Allen,
yeah,
he gets a little bit of a break because his losses, he clearly did everything he could.
true.
Oh, he's scoring 40 something points, or you're giving Mahomes the ball back with 18 seconds left on the clock in the NFL. I mean, people are looking at Josh Allen going, damn, what else can he do?
Right.
Love is not, I don't think he's gotten to that level yet. He's not getting that kind of pass. No, all he had to do was get a couple of first downs. All he had to do was hit that one pass or two, or get it with his legs or something, to prevent the Bears' comeback. And there's just a little difference in that to me. So we'll see. But yeah, Yeah, and watching the Bills game, wow, that was another great finish.
Yeah, and you got a feel for Trevor Lawrence. Still had a good solid minute to go, and it really looked like, oh my goodness, they're going to do it. And it just popped off the hands, and there was Blaine Bishop right there to get that INT, and that was it. But that was a very good football game, hard hitting. All of them were. By this point of the weekend, we were just like, okay, every game's going to get down to the wire, and this is great. So
Every game was really, I mean, well, not every game. Four of the games especially were just really good. Did you happen to see, and I probably should have had it pulled up, but did you happen to see the interview with the Jacksonville Jaguars head coach after the game at the podium? Did you happen to hear the question from, or not even a question, but the reporter from Jacksonville? Did you hear that exchange?
Liam Cohen, no, I
Yeah, if you,
saw that.
for all you out there, you've got to Google it because a reporter from Jacksonville, they didn't show her, and you could easily pull up her name, and I should have had this loaded up. I apologize. But
Why
basically,
do you remember now?
she basically said, hey, you should hang your head up. You had a fantastic season. You should be proud of what you did. Jag Nation is proud of what you did this year. And she just went on this 30-second praising commentary, and you could see the head coach's eyes watering.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's even making me like get a little choked up on just good to know there's people out there like that, instead of kicking a guy who's down. But on top of that, it looks like that's what he needed to hear right then after a heartbreaking loss.
I do remember that now. Thank you for refreshing my memory. Yeah, there's nice people in the sports media too, and that was really nice
100%.
of how she did it. Yep.
Oh, and just the way her, I'll leave it at that, but just her voice, it was so soothing. It almost seemed like spiritual. It was just really crazy. But I recommend anyone going to look that up. It's 30 seconds that you'll really appreciate. And I'll say one more thing about this Bills game. If I asked you, when was the last time the Bills won a road playoff game? When would you say that was? How
Well,
many
I'll
years
have to
ago?
admit, I think I heard something on the broadcast. Oh my goodness, 30 years ago?
30 years ago was
Yeah,
the last time the Buffalo Bills won a road playoff game. That to me is amazing.
yeah, that is crazy.
Couldn't believe it. So, and they barely won. Jacksonville, kudos to Jacksonville. Hey, they're going to be tough next year, man.
Yeah,
And Trevor Lawrence, man, he just continues to have to learn new systems, learn new systems. So I give him a little bit of a pass. I will say if he would learn to throw the ball a little lower, I mean this seriously, to his receivers, he would avoid a lot of his mistakes because a lot of his mistakes are off the tips of receivers' hands jumping for balls. And in NFL, over the middle, that's going to get you intercepted every time. If that last pass that was picked would have been, chest down, wouldn't have had this problem. But anyways,
and
there we go.
get your receivers killed.
Well, that too. Good point. But that's why I'm an undrafted armchair quarterback, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Hey, Trevor, call me. All right, a couple more here, real quick.
Yep.
Patriots, not much to say. If you score 3 points in a playoff game, Chargers, first of all, why is your OC even in the mix for anybody? I can see why they wouldn't be. Number two, I mean, come on, that was an embarrassment. And oh yeah, it was a defensive struggle. I know, but still,
Maybe he was told you better go interview for other jobs.
yeah, that was, you know, wasn't a fun game to watch, quite frankly. I'm a
No,
big Patriots believer. I'm not a fan of the Patriots for obvious reasons. I do like May and I do like Vrabel. And I also believe they are a really good team to contend with. And they can show they don't have to score a lot of points to win, which is really scary, knowing that they can score a lot of points.
they sure can. And Mike Vrabel has molded the defense into the defense they used to be. Doesn't it look that way? The
Yeah,
Patriots are
yeah,
just all over the place. They seem to be in the right place
yeah,
at the right time. And when
yep,
they tackle, they tackle. You don't
yep.
see missed tackles, missed assignments, missed gaps, anything. They just seem to be right where they need to be. That's
And they look like one of those teams that you want to play a slow, sluggish, a low scoring game. Yeah, we'll do that. Oh, you want to light up the scoreboard? Sure, we can do that. I mean, they really look like one of those teams because some teams, they just can't do one or the other. You've got to, and Houston aside, Houston Houston's defense scored more points than the Steelers' offense. That's how bad that was. It was enough to get Tomlin fired. I blame their OC a lot on that. Aaron Rodgers, he's Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, that game was also, kind of a little bit of a yawner. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if Houston's good enough to win or make a deep run with their offense. Their offense just doesn't look that good to me.
Just it's going to come down to, once again, we've heard the adage: defense wins championships. It wins championships. So it's going to be. It remains to be seen if they're
Yeah.
good enough. If they're good enough. But
Yeah.
that was a great game. And then we got the last one, 49ers Eagles game. What'd you think when the head coach of the Eagles ran 40-yard dash down the sideline to go have a chat with A.J. Brown about something? That's it.
I'm going to go 50-50 on this. After watching A.J. Brown bitch it, complain and moan all year long, distraction to the team, unprofessional, in many ways. And then watching that game, that wasn't the first catch, by the way, that got under the skin of the Eagles fans or the head coach. There was a couple throws where I'm not saying they were alligator arms, but what's the next shortest arms you can have? They weren't T-Rex arms, but they were kangaroo arms,
Raccoon.
Yeah, kangaroo arms.
Yeah.
He wasn't giving max effort. So then in a critical point of the game, I would argue there's a 20, well, it was like a 30-yard, pattern down the sideline. AJ clearly did not give 100% effort. Now, I define that as laying out for it, doing whatever you can to catch it. Now in his mind, to be fair, he might have said, hey, I knew I couldn't catch it. I've caught a million of these things. It was just overthrown. I don't know. It looked like at least you could have tried harder. When that ball hit the ground, the head coach of the Eagles started sprinting down the sideline to meet A.J. Brown at the sideline as he was coming off the field after that lack of effort and just got in his face. I'm 50-50. Number one, yeah, I think A.J. Brown deserved it. I mean, this is a playoff game. Give it your all. Number two, I don't know if you want to do that in that kind of a public way to one of, arguably one of your star receivers and all that. It's not a good look for the head coach.
Yeah. I think he wanted to run down the sideline so he could ask A.J. Brown, how did you get that Geico commercial where you said, I'm always open, always open? Yeah, but you can't catch, can you?
Let me tell you, after that incident, if I think I have this right, but after that incident, a clear drop by A.J. Brown did not help his cause, man.
Critical drop at the end of the game. Exactly.
Critical drop. Yeah. I mean, these are the kind of players, man. It's just hard because they're so good,
Yeah.
but yet they're such a pain to manage and have on the team. Man, are you better off, a little bit less talent with a lot more character? And I'm not saying AJ Brown doesn't have character. I just mean with a lot less drama. Let's put it that way. I'm sorry, not character, drama. Little less talent with a little less drama might be a better, algorithm.
Get somebody that does the job and doesn't create a distraction while you're doing a job.
Yeah. Well, I realize everyone's not going to be a McCaffrey. You know what I mean? You can't have McCaffreys and Purdy's all over your team, but those two guys, let me tell you, there's a good reason why 49ers, even though they're hurt, they're banged up, they're further banged up.
I
By the way,
know.
there's rumors that their practice facility and their whole office is located next to a massive power plant that powers, Silicon Valley and all that, and that the EMF coming from that damages your mitochondria, which ultimately damages your ligaments and tendons. The 49ers lead the league by far in injuries and major injuries. Google it, look it up yourself. Probably conspiracy theory. But last week I said if McCaffrey gets 135 yards of total yards, they're going to win this game. He got 115 with 2 TDs. I'm telling you right now, if you want to beat the 49ers, you've got to stop McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And he is a beast, man.
Yep. He sure is. No, yeah. I think that kind of wraps things up. I wanted to mention a couple of viewer comments just before we roll. A
Please.
lot of these are all totally in line with what we were talking about. But for the Dolphins head coaching job, we've got Kelf190, Fred. He wants John Gruden as the Dolphins' next head coach.
Love it.
I think he's saying that because the Gators didn't hire him. So, okay, we're following
Okay.
you.
All right.
And then we had a Top Cat comment. TC Top Cat also said, "How does an 8 and 9 team even make the playoffs, let alone host?" But boy, we were all surprised at the Panthers.
Good comment. We know how. They won their division, which was the crappiest division ever.
And then we have the last James B, our Houston Texans viewer. He mentioned that CJ Stroud spreads the ball better when the Texans offense does not have Nico Collins in it. And I thought that was really interesting because the other night when Nico Collins went out, the Texans offense, Stroud started spreading the ball around better and they actually started moving the ball and scoring.
That's a really
So
good
thanks, James
observation.
B, for that comment. Made me
Hey,
look
listen,
at
I
that.
think it's a very good comment because I mean, I believe Stroud relies on Collins way too often. And
Yeah.
listen, and it backs up my comment on one thing: is Stroud. I don't know if he's good enough to take the Houston to the level they want to go, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, but no, thanks for reading those comments. We love those comments. So
Yeah, keep them
we
coming,
appreciate.
everybody.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, so that's it for this episode of the Undrafted Armchair Quarterbacks with Jim and Joe. Thanks for checking us out and hanging with us for some real fan-driven sports talk.
And don't forget, your comments really are a part of the show. Please keep them coming. We'll drop them, read them, and feature them in future episodes. Be sure to like, subscribe, tell your friends about us. Join us. We want to hear their comments too. And catch us every week for free right here on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, and TikTok, or wherever you listen. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Joe. See you
Thank
Friday.
you. See you Friday, buddy. Take care, man.